Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're going to change it up. We're going to paint. I'm just kidding. Today we're making Ambre Narguile by Hermès, released in 2004. The perfumer was Jean-Claude Ellena, and it's a wonderful, sweet, warm, spicy vanilla fragrance. The formula comes to us from a GCMS analysis by our friend db.s, a user who contributes occasionally to Basenotes and in the past has done a fantastic job. I'm hoping this is no different. Now, I've made this fragrance before. I've made it using my own interpretation of a GCMS analysis. A while ago, Fragrance Drama posted on their Instagram page, a GCMS report that was funded by Laboratorium. So thank you again, Laboratorium. And I used that GCMS. I put together a proper formula and I made it, and I must say, it was pretty dang close. I do have a sample and it was very close. So I'm not sure what we're going to get here. I have not made this particular formula, but db.s typically does pretty good work. So I'm excited to put this together. If we look at the structure of the formula, it is mostly musk. If we exclude the solvents, which I already have in the beaker here, if we exclude the solvents like DPG, this is it's 50% musk, and it's about 30% woody notes, most of which is in ISO-E Super. So the fragrance is musk heavy, very ISO-E Super-y, and then we've got sweet notes, a little spices, some florals, you know, a mishmash of some other things to give it that spice. So why don't we get started? Now, as I said, in the beaker, I've already put in the DPG, the dipropylene glycol, and I've already put in a little bit of Solgard. I didn't use BHT. I didn't use octosalicylate, which I have and is in the GCMS analysis. Instead, I use Solgard. I get it from FredaWorks. It has antioxidants in it and some sunscreens, some UV protection. And honestly, usually I just throw it in at 0.5% to 1% of almost any formula that goes into a glass bottle. So that's already in here. This will not be in the formula that I post, but just know I swapped out a little bit of DPG and I put in Solgard. Now I want to make a note about the batch that I'm going to make. Today I'm going to make a 40-gram batch. Now, if I exclude dipropylene glycol as being a solvent, if I consider DPG as an actual ingredient in the concentrate, then the end product with what we're going to make is going to be a 20% concentrate. 40 grams, 20% concentrate, that should fill a 50 milliliter bottle. And I recently got a comment that I kind of chuckled because I get it. The viewer said it's confusing to watch and listen what's going on in the video and then to compare it to the formula, and it's very different. The amounts are different, and I get it. The best way I can explain this, if this was a cooking channel and I would have to bake a cake for the country of Argentina, would I want to then give you a recipe and say, I need 4 million pounds of flour, I need 2 million pounds of sugar, I need 1 million pounds of butter? That would be ridiculous, right? I would give you, I need 4 parts flour, 2 parts sugar, 1 part butter, half a part vanilla, whatever it is. I would give you the formula in parts, and then you can go make your own batch. You can make, you can make a small cake, you can make a cake for an entire country, whatever. It's the same thing here. I'm making 40 grams. The formula for this is 1,000 grams. So you got to do some math. I'll let you do the math. I'm going to blend. Let's start with our musk. This is heavy in musk, so we're going to get it started. And we are going to start off with our Galaxolide 50. Make sure I got some pipettes here. All right. Galaxolide 50. This one's almost out. I'm going to have to refill. Good thing I have lots and lots and lots of Galaxolide 50. Galaxolide is used quite a lot in laundry detergent because it smells so good. And I'm guessing it's pretty stable. If they're going to use this in a detergent, I'm guessing it reacts well in acidic or basic environments. Maybe basic environments. I think soap tends to be on the basic side. Correct me if I'm wrong. One thing I appreciate is when you all correct me, you do a very good job. You do it kindly and often clearly. In the last video, I made a comment about ylang and how there's different fractions or grades of ylang when they're, creating the essential oil. Ylang extra is the best. Ylang 1 is the next best. Ylang 2. And I said, I don't know what ylang complete is. Well, a lovely user chimed in and said ylang complete is simply a combination of all the fractions. So there we have it. Okay, galaxolide, done. Now in this formula, there is also cashmerein, but I'm going to save the cashmerein until I get to the florals. They don't really belong in the floral. It doesn't belong in the florals, but functionally, I don't think it belongs in the musk category. It's got a different function in a fragrance than simply providing a nice base to work off of. Next up, tonalide. I made an emergency batch of 20% tonalide because I had a bottle and it had a whole bunch of powder left in it. And I'll do some measuring and weighing before and after, but I'll just spray alcohol in the bottle and try to, harvest whatever powder is left over. And I got a good, 7 grams of a 20% solution, 20% dilution out of it. I have a full kilogram of tonalide over to my right next to a fridge over here. Yet I can't help feeling that I'm wasting that 0.6 grams or 1 gram that's stuck in the bottle. Okay, almost there with tonalide. Now tonalide is a wonderful musk. It's almost got a nitro musk aspect to it in that it's a little bit fatty. It's wonderful. All right, next up, scentolide. If you don't have scentolide, use ambretolide. Scentolide is just another isoambretolide. It's warm. It is, believe it or not, a bit ambery. Who would have thought? Perhaps ambretolide gets its name because it's a musk molecule, but it is found in musk ambret, in ambret seed. I'm sorry, not musk ambret, that's its own chemical. I meant ambret seed. And ambret seed comes from, I believe, hibiscus. That beautiful flower, I think that thing produces ambret seeds. I don't know why they don't call it hibiscus seed. Velvione is another very interesting musk. It's powdery. It's very strong. It's also like a nitro musk. Nitro musk in that powdery, fatty feel to it. Okay. And last, we're going to do muscone. Muscone is very delicate. It is animalic in the same way that muscanone is animalic. But it doesn't seem dirty. It's not fecal. It's not urinous, you know, it's not pissy, so to speak. It's almost got like a wet fur vibe to it, but it smells wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. Of course, I've already forgotten that I need a stir pipette, because we're gonna smell the musk accord that we just made. And someone made a good comment. If I leave this in here, that is just something I can knock over and then make a big mess. We don't want to do that. So I think I'm just going to have to remember to not throw away my pipette when I'm done. All right, so we have musk accord. That's number 1. Don't forget to dip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. Good. Okay. Next, we are going to add the balsamic notes and the ambery woody notes. This includes patchouli. I know patchouli's kind of, I still don't know where to put patchouli. It's herbal, it's woody, it's full, what is it? But we're gonna do all that before we put in the sweet notes. I wanna smell what this base smells like before we start slipping in the coumarin, the bicyclononolactone, the vanillin, etc. Now, because this is so ISO-E super heavy, let's do that first. Okay. Remember, about 25% of the concentrate is in ISO-E super. And materials like this are virtually required for your fragrance. It has a knack for filling in the gaps, not just linking the materials together as like a wonderful blender. It fills in the space in between the fragrances, in between the molecules. And you can get that in your nose. Oddly enough, you can smell that. You can smell the difference. All right. Next up, patchouli. Let's do our patchouli. Yeah. It's woody, it's warm, it's herbaceous, but not like super fresh linalool acetate or minty fresh and herbal. It's not camphorous. But it's got something in it. It's got something to it that makes you think of herbs. Or is it herbs? How do you pronounce it? Herbs or herbs? I say herbs, but I'm in the Pacific Northwest in the US of A. I'm not sure what it's like where you live. Next up, why don't we do our fix amber? There's not much in here. Fix amber, otherwise known as trimifix or amber decatriene. It's another woody amber, slightly musky, like it's a good bridge between musks and ambers. It's got that, it definitely does have that ambery musk tone to it. And there's about only one drop, so maybe a drop and a breath. Cool. Wonderful. Next up, labdanum absolute. Resinous, warm, ambery. Love labdanum. It's only a couple drops here. Perfect. 3 more. Now we're moving into the balsamic area. We're going to start with our benzoin. benzoin Siam. Benzoin Siam is different than benzoin Sumatra. Just because they both start with benzoin does not mean they're the same. And they smell different. There are similarities in the nature, the timbre, you could say, but they are different. I get a more sweet, vanillic, chocolatey nature out of benzoin Siam, where benzoin Sumatra is a bit dirtier, a little bit more woody. It's possible that when we smell benzoin Siam, it smells so sweet because it's adulterated with vanillin. Or you could say enhanced. Okay, 2 more. Next up, we got benzyl salicylate, and there's only a breath of this. You really don't need much, but there's only a breath of benzyl salicylate. A nice floralizer and blender. And last, cinnamic alcohol. Now this stuff is deep. Yeah. Very deep, very balsamic. It is definitely perceivable on its own. It's not like it's hiding, or it's not like it hides on the strip. It doesn't necessarily pop though. It doesn't like zing you in the nose like lemon. But it feels like a warm blanket in your nose. Okay, just a little more. Yeah, we're good. Okay. I waste another pipette. I should have known. I should have known. All right. We'll mix. Yeah. It's blending well. Good. Got a nice color going on too. So, put that in, and we'll call this our amber and balsam. Number 2. Wonderful. Next up, we're going to start adding all of these sweet notes. All of the sweet notes. Now, interestingly, this doesn't make up a huge portion of the concentrate, maybe only about 5%, 6%. That said, it's a strong part of the formula. We already get sweetness from the musks. I know often you think of musks as being musky and warm, but there is a sweetness to them. The notes that we're going to add simply provide a little color, a little extra depth and personality to the sweetness that's already in there from the musks. And let's start with our vanillin. All right. Just under 3% of the concentrate is vanillin. We're going to get 2 full pipettes and then maybe a little more. Let's see. No. Wow. 2 pipettes and we're spot on. Spot on. Next up, let's do the coumarin. There's just under 4% in coumarin. It's just, about 3.5%, call it. Here we'll have to do 2.5 pipettes. Coumarin, lovely, sweet, but also has a brightness to it that's wonderful. People say it smells like hay, and I get that. I get that, especially when it's diluted down and it's not so strong. All right, that'll do. Now, I wonder, because we have bicyclononolactone, it smells a lot like coumarin, but it has a lactonic quality to it. Slightly more lactonic quality. But I wonder if this was done because it enhances the formula, the nuance of the formula? Or was this done because we were running up against IFRA regulations for how much coumarin you can have in your fragrance? I don't know. I'm not Jean-Claude Ellena. Smells good though. I can smell it wafting out of the bottle here. Okay. Just a little more. Oh, and I have to leave it out because it's about time for a new dilution. We are about out. Okay, next up, let's do our ethyl maltol. You know, let's do our tonka bean. We'll stay on the coumarin theme because tonka bean contains coumarin. Okay. You could say tonka bean has just a touch more depth. It's a little bit richer, a little bit darker. Okay, now let's do our ethyl maltol. Our caramelized sugar or cotton candy note. Wonderful. Got two more. Another lactone, gamma octalactone. Now, gamma octalactone is your standard lactone. It's definitely got a coconut vibe. It's definitely lactonic. But I can see how it ties in with the coumarin. There's almost a coumarin element to it. I don't think we need much, maybe a drop and a half. Not much in there. All right, last but not least, vanilla absolute. Real vanilla absolute. There's not much in here. And it's always interesting to me with so many formulas that I've seen. You never see much vanilla absolute, rose absolute, jasmine absolute. You see a lot of vanillin and then a little bit of vanilla absolute to beef it up. You see a fair bit of rose materials and then a little bit of rose auto or rose absolute to, to beef it up or make it more real. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's so they can say they added real rose, but they can also keep the cost down. I won't be that cynical. I'll say there's a functional purpose. I'm going to assume there's a functional purpose behind it, but I just don't know what it is. So the search continues. Okay, my mouse is in the way. Here we go. Vanilla 3. Friends, we have 2 more groups we're going to do. And we are going to start with the floral / fruity molecules. And this is a mishmash because remember, I'm adding cashmeran in here, but there's 3 more groups. We have our top notes, we have our spices, and then we have this like fruity floral core to the fragrance, just for a little extra body, a little extra, some florals. So let's start here. Let's actually start with our cashmeran. Again, I know this is not a floral, but the way, if I were to just put this in groups, in my mind, if I were adding a material to a fragrance to give it a little boost, to give it something that cuts and push forward, I could add rose, or I could add cashmeran, or I could add some, a fair bit of methyl ionone. So in my mind, work with me here. I can group these together, even though they're in different fragrance families. Okay. Good, cashmeran down. Next up, an expensive material. Good thing there's not much in here. Iron alpha. woody, powdery orris, otherwise known as iris. Okay. Yeah, that stuff smells good. Smells very good. Okay. Next, let's do our fruity materials before we get into the proper florals. Let's use our benzaldehyde. Definitely a top note. I should probably add this to the top, but you know what? I'm going to say it's a part of our fruity floral core. So, and there's not much in here. I'm using a 1% dilution, and yeah, not much. What's the new Creed fragrance that's got a nice benzaldehyde top? Like, is it Centaurus? Can't remember. I was recently at Nordstrom and figured I'd spray, or I didn't even spray. I think I just opened them up, smelled the cap, and I remember going, oh, benzaldehyde. Wonder what it smells like when that dies down. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. Next up, Verdox, otherwise known as Agrimex. Oh, okay. You know what that sound means. It's time for a new dilution. Let me see if I have any left, because I'm going to need this. There's definitely more of this I'm going to need. Okay. To the fridge. Yep. Okay, so I got about half a gram in here at a 10% dilution. This came out of the fridge, so I cannot just open this up. That would be bad. So what I'm going to do is set this aside. I know that I have about 1 more gram. I'm going to have 0.9 grams at a 10% dilution that I need to add. I got to wait till this warms up a little bit. I'll put it between my legs. Maybe that'll help warm it up. What I don't want to do is open it up because of the air pressure difference, because it's cold in there. Humid air rushes in, and because of the cold aluminum bottle, condensation starts. Then you get water in your material. I don't want that at all. So let's just keep pushing forward. I'll do the Verdox in a bit. So let's keep on with the fruit, Damascenone. I still have this classified as a floral note, but boy, is it fruity. Now this is at 10% too, so this is a good amount of Damascenone. Yeah, good to go. Good to go. Okay, next, Neryl acetate. There's just a touch of Neryl acetate. It's a lot like, it's a lot less green than Neryl. It's a little bit, to my nose, a bit more floral and more toned down, a little bit sweeter. Neryl, if I remember correctly, is it's got that same, not quite harshness, but top end strength as citronellol and geraniol, but it's like green. It's green to me, which is interesting because citronellol, geraniol, nerol, those are all very similar molecules. So it's interesting how they can feel so different in your nose. Okay, next up, Rose Absolute, Real Rose Absolute. This is the OG from Kazanlak, Bulgaria. This is from Bulgaria. I should have rehearsed. Ooh, look at that color. I should have rehearsed how you pronounce that word. Or that city. I think it's a city. Okay, perfect. So I need just a little bit more, but you know what? I think there's enough inside the pipette where I can mix this and clean out the pipette, and we'll be good to go. Okay, how are we doing here? Nah, still chilly. I need the reverse of a wine chiller, a wine cooler, and have like a wine heater, but it's a materials heater, maybe like a warm water bath or something. Yeah, I'm not going to risk it and do it now. We're going to have to save the Verdox. We'll save it with the top notes, but for now, let's dip. Remember, when I dip, you dip. We dip. Okay. And here we'll put fruity floral. Fruity floral. Wonderful. We've got two more friends, two more groups. Let's get our spices on. Let's get spicy. Let's start with our allspice or pimento berry. Now, what is interesting with this formula is that in the GCMS analysis provided, again, by Laboratorium, thank you, at the end of the analysis, it suggests certain natural materials that can go into the formula. And it gives you a range of concentration for those materials. And I believe there are only two. Can't remember what they are, but that's what my brain is telling me, that there are only two naturals in the formula. But look how many naturals we have in this formula from our friend db.s. Allspice or pimento berry is natural. I wonder if it's a bit redundant. It's almost got a fruitier nature than just clove, but why not use clove? Cinnamon bark. Also got some eugenol in here. But what were the aroma chemicals that DBS saw that made him or her both think, hey, I think I should do some cinnamon bark, some nutmeg. We'll do pink pepper next, but here's nutmeg. Ooh, beautiful spice. More of a top note, definitely more of a top note, but it's fresh, spicy. Nutmeg is like one of the cool spices. It's not like a hot spice. It's almost cooling in your nose. Whereas clove, you know, feels a little bit warm. At least that's how I liken it. Last up, pink pepper. Not much pink pepper. Whew. Lovely. I love pink pepper, how bright it is. It's got a little bit of sweetness, almost has like a citrusy quality to it without the limonene. At the same time, it's not as terpenic as black pepper. Black pepper has this, I think the word's terpenic. I'm still learning my words here when it comes to describing fragrances, smells, describing smells. But yeah, it's just not as dark as black pepper. Okay, that's mixed. Let's dip. And we'll write spices, and we are trucking. Last group. Oh, didn't fold that correctly. Okay, last group, and I really got to get this warmed up. It's doing better. It's doing better. I think we're going to nail this by the time we get through the top notes. So the top notes are definitely a mish and mash. We're going to start with linalool and linaloyl acetate. Let's start with our linalool. It's floral. It's fresh. It's a little bit fruity. It's got a metallic quality to it. Perfect. Thought I was going to do the wrong amount there for a second, but I didn't. Next up, linaloyl acetate. It smells similar to linalool, maybe a bit more towards the green herbal side. the metallic nature of it is darker than linalool. Okay. Next, let's stay with the linalool acetate vibe. We'll add a bit of limonene and we get bergamot. Lovely. Almost a full gram of this bergamot at 10%. Okay. Ooh, almost. There we go. It's hard to overdo the bergamot, honestly. Whenever I put it into my own experiments, I find that I have to put in more than I expect. Next, we're going to stay in the same vibe. Petitgrain. Yeah. Ooh, this is a nice one. This is a nice one. Not much petitgrain, but again, you get that same linalool acetate aspect, but it's a bit more woody. Okay. Now, speaking of woody, I don't know why I have this in the wood category. Maybe I need to re-examine it, but terpineol alpha. Maybe it's because there's like a pine. Yeah, there's like a pine aspect to it. This is such an interesting material. It's piney, but it's also floral, like lilac. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. Oh, and there's not much. Oh, geez. I was going to do a whole pipette, and what I need is like 1 drop. 1 drop. Good. Okay, let's do the Healy now. Not a top note. It definitely affects the entire blend, Healy now. Not as aggressively as Cologne. It has a similar effect as Cologne, as it adds this ozonic marine smell, but with a fruity melon tilt. And again, it's just not as strong. It's a little more gentle, a little more forgiving. Okay. All right. Wonderful. So that's it, other than the Verdox. So I'm going to make this Verdox. We're going to make this Verdox dilution, liggity split. Remember, I need 0.9 grams of this 10% dilution. Whenever I'm doing this, it's almost on autopilot. I will either do 7.2 or 8.1 grams of ethanol. I think right now I'm going to do 8.1. Because if I do 8.1, I know I need 0.9 grams, or I can just fill it up to 9 grams with the Verdox, and I have my 10% dilution. Okay. Okay. Verdox smells like apple peel. Yeah. Smells like apple peel. Okay. Good. So Verdox is made. Tear that. Got to mix this. Go into 0.9, and then we'll do our final dip. All right. Let's dip. We know that's the final one. Okay, friends, time to sniff. We're going to start with strip number 1, the musk. This is very nice. It's musky. but it's a blend of musks. You're not just getting that one musk note that is like, it's metallic, it's animalic, or it's, you know, it's a nice blend. I'm getting the muscone, oddly enough, the animalic nature of the muscone and the velvione is wonderful. It is a bit in the nitro musk direction, which I'm really appreciating with the tonalide and the velvione. I mean, it's dominated by galaxolide, but it's that's a nice musk accord. Next up, we added the amber notes and the balsamic notes. The fix amber, which I'm not really expecting to smell a lot, but we have the labdanum, the cinnamon alcohol, which I am excited. I love that stuff. The benzyl salicylate and the benzoin cyan, and lots of isoe super. And patchouli, patchouli. Yeah, that's an herbal patchouli that I used, but it fits in well. So far, this still feels like a nice blend. It's ambery. It's a touch sweet, just a touch, but it pairs very well with the musks. Let's do the vanillas. All the sweet notes: coumarin, bicyclononolactone, the tonka bean, the vanilla absolute, the vanillin, the ethyl maltol, and the gamma octolactone. All musks are now gone. This is very vanilla and coumarin. It's beautiful. Do not get me wrong, it is beautiful. But isn't it interesting that we had so much galaxolide, a lot of tonalide, so much isoe super, and then we put in, you know, a little bit of vanilla and coumarin, and all of a sudden we have a vanilla fragrance. We have a coumarin, you know, we have a sweet fragrance. Now it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So simple, but absolutely gorgeous. Next, we added the fruity and floral notes. The Verdox, a little bit of Verdox, remember. We added the Damascanone, benzaldehyde, the Irone Alpha. Irone Alpha is straight up florals. And remember, we added the Rose Absolute here as well. Interesting. This kind of just gives us a sweet cherry note. Stopping here, I would say we're either going in the direction of Ambre Narguile or we're going in the direction of Lost Cherry. It's reminiscent of Lost Cherry. Of course, it's the benzaldehyde, you know, but that's nice. It's very nice. Next up, spices. The allspice, cinnamon bark, nutmeg, and the pink pepper. Great. This adds a very appropriate spicy note. Very appropriate, fits in perfectly. Basically taking sweet musks, vanilla, our touch of cherry, our touch of fruit, and we sprinkle a little spice, some clove. We, you know, grate some nutmeg over the top. And that's what we got. Then last, we added all of those top notes: the linalool acetate, the linalool, the bergamot, the petitgrain, the alpha terpineol. Then we added helional. Don't forget the helional. This is brighter than I remember. Smells very good. But the top notes are dominating this in a way I wasn't expecting. They'll be gone soon. We don't have to worry. These will be gone in 15 minutes to 30 minutes. As a formula, this smells very good. Straight up. As a study formula, I think it's fantastic because it's straightforward. There are not many materials, and you can go fragrance family by fragrance family. You can easily see how the materials affect the other materials when they're paired together, when you add them in. So I think as a study, this is absolutely fantastic. Is it Ambre Narguile? I will have to get back to you. I do have a sample bottle from Fragrance Decant Boutique somewhere around here. I'll add it to the list of fragrances we need to sample. But I think as a standalone, this is wonderful. Yeah, this is wonderful. We'll see how it does on my skin. I'm not going to put it on my skin. I am going to not drink this. I'm going to put this in a bottle, crimp it, cap it, and let it mature for about a week, and then I'm going to give it a try. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.